Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast, the podcast that gives you immediate actions you can take to start seeing life-shifting results now. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone.
And Theron Feidt.
So on our last podcast, and if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it because it was really good. We talked about raising self-reliant kids, right?
Yep.
And just some strategies with that. But today, in that podcast, we talked about consequences,
Yeah.
And today, we're talking about how to master second and third order consequences. And I really like this topic. The reason I like this topic is because when I think of the word consequence, I think of a negative thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
hmm
oh my God, I have consequences to face. That's
Yeah.
terrible. And really, what we're talking about is we're talking about beyond the bad consequences, the good consequences that can come from things.
Yeah. Like in my mind, it seems like the culture here, at least, consequences are negative, results are positive.
Yeah.
But really, consequences and results are synonyms in a way,
Yeah.
because your results could be bad or results could be good. Same thing as consequences. Consequences could be good, bad, or good.
Yeah.
It's just this is what happens when you do or not do something. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the idea behind this is, um, and we all do this, but certain people only think of the immediate, right? What is the consequence? What's going to happen if I do this? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And they don't think about if I do this, what happens second and third. In finances, that's part of it. If you're into finances and you're into planning and stocks and trading, there's that. But to break it down simply, exercise. We talk about exercise and workout all the time. Well, why doesn't somebody work out? Because it hurts,
Yeah.
because it takes time, because they just don't feel like doing it. And so the first order consequence is it's going to be painful, it's going to take up a bunch of my time. That's why they don't do it. What they're failing to do is thinking about the second and third order consequences, that if I go through the pain and I go through making time to work out, what's the second order consequences? Well, I'm going to be healthier. What's the third order consequences? Well, I'm going to definitely be happier. I'm going to feel better about myself. And it's just, especially if I do it consistently,
Yeah.
the second and third order consequences are so much bigger and better than the pain that I had to go through with the first, that now I'm addicted to working out.
Yeah. I used to run into this when I started waking. Like, I mean, now, like, I wake up around 5 o'clock every day. But when I first used to try to start waking up early to exercise, I remember I'd set my alarm clock for like 5:30, and it would go off, and I'd think, man, you know what? I just can't exercise right now because I'm going to be tired later if I
Yeah.
exercise right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd hit the snooze button, and I'd sleep for another 30 minutes. But you guys, like, the snooze button. Everyone who's ever used the snooze button, like, it's 9-minute increments, right? So there's no way you're getting actually any good rest
Is it
during
9 minutes?
yeah, snooze buttons are all
Oh,
9
okay. I didn't know
because
how
of
long
a
it was.
gear thing from
Okay.
clocks.
Okay.
But really, like, so if you want to sleep another 30 minutes, that's four snooze buttons and that's 4 9-minute segments of sleep. Like, your
Yeah.
brain's not getting any rest
hmm
in those 9-minute segments. But anyway,
Right.
I would hit it and I'd wake up at 6, but then I'd be like, well, now I'm tired still
Yeah.
and I didn't work out. So that's like two bad things,
Right.
where if I just got out of bed and got on the treadmill or went for a walk or whatever, I guarantee you by 6 o'clock, I'd feel more awake, right? As much as it's uncomfortable in that little, first chunk. But that second order consequence, like, I'd feel more awake. I'd probably get more done during the day because I have more
hmm
energy. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a thing that I guarantee you, someone who's listening to this right now, this is being impacted by this today.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is so when we're you're talking to somebody on the sidelines about joining martial arts, could be a parent, could be whatever, especially with adults. The big thing they say, and you reminded me of this when you mentioned the time part. Say, I don't really have time to work out, or in this case, I don't have time to go to class and join martial arts. Okay. Well, what they don't understand is, yes, it's going to take up some time if they do this, they're not going to be able to do something else. However, what time does it add to the rest of your day?
Right.
right? It usually adds twice as much. Now, you certainly can be tired after a hard workout, but typically when you start, you're not working out super hard, you're just ramping it up incrementally. Is your energy level, even if you don't extend your day any longer time wise, your energy is going to be better.
Yeah.
And therefore, your productivity is probably going to be better. So you're going to get more done in the same amount of time if you don't do anything else. So it's a net benefit with time, not a net negative when you add a workout in.
Yeah, and that's something I really like about this because I mean that's really like you were talking about the first order consequences. Oh my God, this workout's going to be hard and it's going to
Yeah.
invade my time, right?
Yep.
Which
Yep.
to anybody who's ever joined martial arts, like if class is at 6:30 to 7 or 7:15, you weren't doing anything in that 45 minutes anyway,
No, you
right?
were
You were
not.
just watching an extra 45 minutes of TV. Okay,
Yep.
so you lose that. So there's that pain. Then there's a little bit of soreness, maybe you're tired after, but then the
Right.
net benefit of that, the second order consequence is you're healthier. The third order consequence is the next day you're more confident. You've got all the things and you
Yep.
get 8 hours of work done in 4 hours instead of 8 hours, and you have
Right.
more time
Right. Right.
you know but but this podcast really what we're going to do in this podcast and why I think it's important for people is we're going to teach you how to apply this instead of 3 steps. We're giving you 3 areas, right? We're going to talk
Yeah.
about this in your health, we're going to talk about this in your finance, and we're going to talk about this in your relationships.
Yeah. And you can apply this to other areas. We just picked these three because we think it's going to make the biggest impact in your life because these three affect everybody,
Right,
regardless of where you're at.
yeah, I
What's
can
that?
apply this to sneaker shopping. I mean, I can apply this to
Yeah, I mean,
like
you
really
can.
so many things, but I think
Yeah,
you're right.
sneaker shopping.
These are the common ones.
All right, so we'll start with applying this to your finances. So here's the big one. Pause before you buy. Do you really need that other pair of sneakers? Mark, do you really
No, I
need them?
do. I do. I
Just take
do.
a pause.
My Skechers slip-ons, not a sponsor.
This is can be very difficult to do, especially if you're an impulse person and you like to just go out and it feels good. But the pausing before you buy. If a salesperson say it's just for today only, they're lying to you. It's not for today only. If you go back the next day, 99% of the time they'll honor it, but that gives you that extra time.
But every time I go to Kohl's, I save like $700 on a t-shirt.
Right?
I mean, it's like it's for sale. But and I think the next, so pausing is important. I think weighing the consequences is important too.
For sure.
Because I think there's obviously short-term pain in not buying things, right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about like, well, why not just buy it? Because we want to utilize the opportunity cost of that money later, right?
Right.
And maybe it's to invest, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe I want to take that money and put it into an S&P account or whatever, so that way
Yeah.
I can say to myself, well, will I feel better with this Snickers bar, or will I feel better with one share of this stock at the end of the month that's going to help me gain
Right.
wealth? But even if you're not an investor, which like I think people should invest because I think it's
Yeah.
good, like, but even if you're just using that money for something more productive later,
Yeah.
maybe you want to have, a one-on-one dinner with your spouse and you're always running out of money, because you're
Right.
impulse buying, weigh the consequences of what happens with this money if I use it right now versus using
Yep.
it later.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And that kind of goes into choosing long-term gain for short-term pain. That's kind of the same thing, I think these three things kind of tie in together. The
Yeah.
pause, thinking about what's a consequence, um, and just weighing is what's the second and third level consequence. So if I save $100 today, as long as it's not just in cash, the $100 are going to be worth more in 5 or 10 years. Like if I
Right.
just put $100 and put it under my mattress, it's still $100, but what it can buy you because of inflation is now like 75,
Right.
worth it. So investing means you're putting in something that's going to grow faster than inflation. And you don't need to get crazy, but the idea is that do you really need that other pair of sneakers when you already have 10 pairs that are all the same, slightly
Have
different
you
color? Or can you use that $100 in the future somewhere better.
I mean, have you worn slip-ons? I
I
mean, they're
have.
amazing.
They are amazing. You're right. Okay. All right.
All
But
right, so
the whole idea is just to
yes,
think ahead, just pause and not
yes,
to like I never liked the hey, if you stop going to Starbucks, you're saving $5 a day and all that. And not that it's not true what they're saying, but also lifestyle's part of it. If you
yeah,
enjoy that coffee or you enjoy that Starbucks and it's not going on your credit card, that's the big thing. Don't pay for it more than twice because of the interest each month,
yeah,
um, and you can afford it, do it. That's fine. You can skimp in other ways if you truly enjoy that coffee, but the
yeah,
whole concept is that there's things you can do to save money that you really don't need,
yeah,
and that's the whole idea.
100%. But and we talked about this with fitness a little bit, but let's talk about it with diet specifically,
Yeah.
right? Because this is where I know a lot of people struggle, myself included. Yes,
Yeah, we
I'm
all
putting
do.
it on there. Consider the aftermath. Like part one is kind of think about that. So before I eat that thing, right, or before we eat that thing, think about how is this going to make me feel today? How is this
Yeah.
going to make me feel after? Of course, it's going to make you feel great while you're doing it. I
Yeah.
mean, is there anything better than just eating a Twinkie? I mean, it
Yeah.
is like the greatest 3 seconds, but the second, like the consequences after that, are awful. And I know as I get older, like salt does that. Like if I eat something super
Yeah.
salty at night, oh my God, like I love it, but then I wake up and I can't open my eyes, because my face is swollen.
Yeah.
But consider you like really think about that and weigh that and how will it make you feel if you eat this? I've never had anybody eat, salad and cucumbers and feel gross the next day, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. 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 The other part is prioritizing your health. So we all need to eat. You don't want to starve yourself because then it's going to be a negative. Not only going to feel bad, but your metabolism going to slow down because
yeah,
your body thinks it's going into starvation mode. So you have to be careful with that. But prioritizing your health over and thinking of food, and this is where you might need to get professional help if you tie food, like people that are overweight, oftentimes they're tying food to love. They're tying food to something that's internal and they don't even realize it, or it's a comfort thing. So that is something you really need to work on, and it might take a while. Shifting food from that to what it really is just nutrition, is to keep you alive, number one, and then the next level is to make you feel good, and then to get you to be healthy, right? And just like you said, eating a Twinkie versus eating a salad, one is going to make you feel good right away, and then not later. One is going to be like, yeah, this is okay,
yeah.
but it's going to have longer
And,
term health benefits.
and go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I
No,
was gonna say with this, I want to give a shout out to Emily Gozy because we had her
oh
on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, for
podcast.
sure.
And I think as we're talking about consequences, when you think about eating healthy, it's funny because you have, the first order consequences really like number one, a lot of healthy food can be less enjoyable, right, in the moment. Okay. But not only that, you also weigh the opportunity cost that you have of not eating the thing that you like, and I
Hmm.
think that's why people struggle so much because not only are you, eating something that you don't really like, but you're also not enjoying the thing that you do like,
Yeah,
and working with, a good dietitian, health coach, somebody like that
right. Nutritionist. Yep.
absolutely can help you craft foods that are both,
Yeah.
and things that, because just like everything, right? What I like isn't what you like, isn't what that
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
likes.
Yep.
Um, but working with somebody who can help you design that will help limit that first order consequence so that way you can enjoy the better consequences later.
Yeah, and what I learned years ago, and this is supported by science, is if you're eating a lot of sugar, you're going to start craving more sugar, and
Yeah.
and oftentimes you need to work on your gut. You need to work on making sure that you don't have things in there that are making you literally crave more sugar because they're hungry, not you're hungry. And it sounds kind of gross, but so you need to see a dietitian, a nutritionist, somebody that really knows the probiotics that you need and things like that. And this is not medical advice by any means. This is just personal what I've gone through. Um, that you don't realize that sugar is very addicting, and sugar can be one of the biggest things that can throw your whole health off whack.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it. A lot of it's just common sense. But if you're really truly struggling with this, and even if you're not overweight, but you feel not good, you might want to look at your nutrition, because it really boils down to rest and nutrition and mindset. Those are
Yeah.
kind of the triangles of energy. But look at that, because that can really have a profound effect on the rest of your life and your mood as well. I
Hmm.
think we forget that food affects our mood. Food is one of the biggest drugs.
Yeah.
Even though we don't consider it a drug, it does affect us like a drug.
Yeah.
Having that coffee, that caffeine, which is a drug, that sugar or whatever, all of that can make a profound effect on your how you feel during the day, but also the energy and your mood and all the things that you want to have a successful life. Take a look at that.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's great. And then, so this one, I love this next thing we're going to talk about
Yeah,
is applying it to your relationships.
right.
Dale Carnegie,
Yeah.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think
Hmm.
chapter 4.
Ooh,
Uh,
wow, we're getting specific.
I read it a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, Mastered relationships, at least this part of relationships, in one sentence when he said you can't win an argument.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and, but it feels so good, doesn't it? Like, doesn't it
It
feel
it
so good to be right?
it
Doesn't it feel,
does for a
like,
little bit.
doesn't, for, right? Doesn't it feel so good to win? And then it doesn't though, right? And as somebody who has experienced this, gladly not in the past 10 or 20 years probably, because I learned a lot of this early, right? But before you make yourself right and make somebody else wrong, just think about it for a minute. Relationships are always reciprocal, and whatever you put out, you're getting back,
Yeah.
right? You're always getting it back.
Hmm.
And pause before you talk. Just
Hmm.
stop. Like this
Yeah.
is this is like I don't know how to verbalize this because I'm pausing before I say it. But like just take a breath before you
Yeah.
spout your whatever you're going to put out there and think this is going to ripple. And I think that's a great starting point for this.
Yeah. So words aren't violence. However, they do have consequences,
Yeah.
right? I mean, can words physically hurt you? No. Can they mentally hurt you and then physically have a reaction from the mental? Yes. So words do matter. What you say do matter. So the pausing is very important. But also, I mean, if you're saying certain things to a really good friend, a spouse, or whatever, a lot of that can be taken back. So be
Yeah.
careful of what you say, and you can break the trust with people, and that's important that you're not doing that or bringing something up that really shouldn't be brought up just for you to win the argument, and then it opens up this Pandora box of bad things. You got to be careful of those.
Well, and it's funny when you talk about the permanence, right? I remember a
Yeah,
long time ago, and I'm sure other people have heard this. Instead of saying like you're a terrible person, right? Because
yeah,
that's a long pointed thing, right?
yeah,
And I'm using good language because this is PG.
yeah,
You can say you're acting like a terrible
yeah.
person, and that softens it, right?
It does.
But I even like to go one step further and just say, like, hey man, I feel like there's some tension. Are
Yeah,
you okay?
yeah,
Right? And when you do that, you're opening like the potential for them to talk to you about whatever's going on,
yeah,
right? Sometimes, I have you ever been to a restaurant where your waitress was just crazy? Like sometimes it's good to just say, "Hey, are you doing okay?" And you'd be amazed. They immediately go,
mm,
"Oh man, I'm sorry. I wasn't asking for an apology. Like, I just want to know, are you okay?"
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
If I was just like, "Oh, you're a terrible waitress," that doesn't do anything. It just makes
Right,
everybody uncomfortable.
right.
So I think, protecting that trust, that we
Yeah.
have with people and just
Mhm.
being able to have a conversation about feelings is good.
Yeah, it is. What a great tip, really.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And thinking about building that relationship, building the trust, building it up versus destroying it. I feel good that I have a lot of long-term relationships. I mean, think of how long we've known each other.
yeah,
You got Master McGarvey who does our edits for this podcast. How long you've known him, how long I've known him, how good of friends we are, and I go on and on with the long-term relationships I have. Married to my wife for 25 years, been together for 30. Um, and so I value long-term relationships. And I learned that you have to, make sure that you're building that each and every day. That doesn't mean you have to give them something, every day, but instead of tearing it down and making you feel better or trying to win the argument, sometimes things aren't that important. It's okay, you
yeah.
know.
Uh-huh. You can totally win an argument by just not by just having a conversation, because
Yes.
that first consequence of maybe having to tuck your tail between your legs a little bit,
Yep.
and it's uncomfortable, and you're like, oh, I really want to say something though.
Yeah, yeah.
That short-term consequence of that pain
Yep.
can really have good secondary and third level consequences
Right.
of growing better relationships,
Right.
building trust. And
Yep.
really, when I talk about relationships, really some of the most impactful people I know have very strong opinions, but they're always willing to discuss things and
Right.
let other people talk
Right.
without having to push on
Yes.
them, if that makes
Yep.
sense. So
It
sorry to
does.
rant.
Does.
I love relationships. This is like I want everyone to be happy in relationships with people.
Well, yeah, the last point on that, why relationships are so important is because they're largely going to determine how happy you are.
Right.
Now ultimately we have to choose to be happy. So
Yeah.
we have to take that responsibility that starts with number one. But after that, if you have if you have a close relationship that's in turmoil, it's it's going to be, if not on the surface, it's going to be underneath the surface, and it can bubble up and it can affect all areas of your life for sure,
Yeah.
right? So
You,
that's why relationships are such an important area of your life to pay attention to and improve.
I remember an old karate adage. I don't know where this came from, but I remember team up, don't give up.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's cool because I think if you look at your finances, you look at your fitness, all of those things, if you're struggling, one of the best things you can do is find somebody else who's either struggling and you want to work on it together, or somebody
Hmm.
who's not struggling who knows about it.
Yep.
Go have lunch with buy your financial guy lunch. One of
Yep.
those people who sells
Yeah.
stocks and just
Right.
talk, right?
Hmm.
But the more you get into good relationships, the better your life will be. So,
For
but anyway,
sure.
let's
Okay.
review our three. So, number one, apply it to your finances. Pause before you buy things. Go through that little bit of pain where you have to wait and think, what are the second level and third level benefits and consequences that'll come from me just pausing and thinking about the long term?
Yep. Number two is apply it to your diet. So consider the aftermath of what you eat. Prioritize your health, and thinking about making a conscious choice instead of just a habit that often is bad.
Yeah. And then number three, apply it to your relationships. And for God's sake, please go read How to Win Friends and Influence People if you haven't. You cannot win an argument. Just let other people be. Don't feel like you have to say the thing because you
Right.
definitely don't.
Yep.
And that
For
wraps up
sure.
this episode of the Achieve Results Now podcast. I love this one. We're talking about second level and third level consequences. Share this with somebody who needs it, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Hop over to our website at www.achieveresultsnow.com to get your free copy of our book, Ignite Results, 4 specific daily actions to help you achieve results now. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Achieve Results Now. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Now get out there and achieve results now.